CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Havana calling. CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Radio Havana calling all shortwave listeners and radio amateurs. Welcome to... DXers Unlimited, Radio Havana's weekly feature dedicated to the fascinating world of radio communications.
Hola, amigos radio aficionados all around the world. This is the middle of the week edition of DXers Unlimited, your favorite radio hobby program. I'm your host, Arnaldo Arnicoro. I'm a ham radio call sign is CO2KK, Charlie Oscar 2 Kilo Kilo in phonetics. And yes, I certainly enjoy having this unique opportunity to share with you and others information about our wonderful hobby. Yours and mine. This is radio. And by the way, the most recent G3 class geomagnetic storm, a strong one, really took a big toll on the shortwave propagation conditions that were really bad before that, and they are worse now. But I expect that they will make a comeback in the next several hours. The information starts with a briefing about solar activity, or should I say solar lack of activity, with only very small 2 sunspots, active regions seen by observers, and the daily international sunspot number way down to 1.5. You heard it right, just less than 2 sunspots average associated with the also extremely low solar flux figures below 69 units. And looking at my archives, I found that the month of August of 2008 went down to the history of solar monitoring with absolutely 0 sunspot number, something that didn't happen for many, many years of meticulous optical observations carried out by the most experienced solar astronomers. Optical solar astronomers, by the way. And that was, of course, during solar cycle 23 tail end. A very long tail had this cycle 23, the previous one. Yes, we must now deal with another extended period of very low solar activity that during the next winter season will send the maximum usable frequency curve way down during the evenings. As a matter of fact, it may go as low as 4 or 5 megahertz during the local evening hours because of the very low solar activity prevailing. Now let me share with our radio amateur listeners and those of you that enjoy listening to hams communicating with each other on the shortwave band, information about hams that define the bad propagation forecast, and go ahead and call CQ into an otherwise absolutely empty ham band. Only to be rewarded? Yes, be rewarded by a DX station coming back to their call. It happens quite often, especially on the 17, 15, 12, and 20 meters, also and 10 meter bands. Those are amateur bands that are on the higher frequency end. During periods of very low solar activity, it happens. Just to provide you with a practical example, a few days ago I was monitoring the 12 meter span, a span from 24.890 to 24.990 megahertz, 100 kilohertz wideband. It is one of the amateur bands that was granted to radio hobby enthusiasts by the 1979 World Administrative Radio Conference of the ITU, and unfortunately is among the least used of the high frequency amateur bands. It sees very little use. Well, to make the story short, I found a station from Colombia handling a pile-up. Believe it or not, a pile-up, working one station after the other and giving them very nice reports. I scanned the whole 100 kilohertz by kilohertz of that band several times, and the Colombian station was the only one heard here in Havana, nothing else. Obviously, he was reaching the USA quite well because all stations that he was working were from that country, and some of you also from Canada. Then I prepared my QRP, a very low power station, tested it about 10 kilohertz up from the Colombian station, returned back to his frequency, and gave him a quick call when he ended the QSO with an American. And sure enough, amigo, my forwards received a 5.7 report of the single sideband voice signal while running a center-fed dipole at around 10 meters above my concrete roof. Yes, even when apparently the higher frequency amateur bands are closed, it is very often not the case. What happens is that no one is using them at that given time, but the band is open, and that is why it is so important to call CQ on the most well-known spot frequencies for the different transmission modes. And nowadays, yes, if you have the possibility of using the FT8 wonderful digital communications mode, by all means use it, and you will be surprised by the extraordinary, amazing results you will achieve. As it happened to me, you may be rewarded with a nice two-way contact. And stand by for a few seconds now. A short break for station ID is coming up here at Radio Havana Cuba. I'm Arnicoro in sunny, beautiful La Habana, Cuba. Yes, a amigos, you are listening to Radio Havana Cuba. The name of the show is DXers Unlimited, and get ready to listen to something really amazing. I have named it the Dummy Load Antenna System, and that will be explained in detail here at our technical topic session of the program starting just now. Amazing, hard to believe, surprising, those are the words I hear when doing a practical demonstration at the radio club of the antenna I'm about to describe now. But the fact is that despite all the odds, it does work. Are you puzzled with what I'm talking about? Want to know more about it? Well, it is yet another version of what is known by engineers as a resistive loaded antenna system, which can be easily improvised with just a standard 50 or 75 ohm dummy load, a coaxial T connector, and a length of antenna wire, any length, random length. I have named it the Wonder Dummy Load Antenna. That's the name I'm giving to it. The idea of using a dummy load as part of an antenna system can be traced to the very early days of radio. Our grandfathers used light bulbs as dummy loads to test their vacuum tube transmitters, and they soon found out, quite by accident of course, that even when their AM and CW transmitter was hooked to a 100 watt or 200 watt light bulb, incandescent light bulb, via length of the then popular twisted pair feed line, their signals sometimes could be heard across town, and surprisingly, they could also be heard far away locations while using the light bulb dummy load instead of an antenna. And that happens especially on the 10 meters band. As many of you know very well, one of the best compromised antennas that I always talk about is that it is a compromised antenna. The TTFT, or tilted terminated folded dipole, using a terminated non-inductive resistor. And although it has losses that may amount up to 6 dB and even higher at the lower frequencies, many users install them for the fact of the convenience of not having to invest in an antenna farm at all. Single antenna will work, for example, from 40 meters to 10 meters. Broadband. The real advantage of the resistive loaded antenna is that you can change frequencies really fast, and if the antenna is well designed, the standing wave ratio will be reasonably low, 1:1. Perfect. So the automatic antenna tuners used at those professional installations really don't have to work very hard to bring the radio to maximum power output. Now, with the antenna I'm describing here at DXers Unlimited, the concept of a resistive load antenna is carried a step further ahead by using a terminating resistor that is a perfect match to the coaxial line. That means, in my case, a 50 ohm dummy load resistor is connected to the coaxial cable coming from the rig using a T-type coaxial fitting. Then to the free end of the T-type fitting, you simply connect to the center a random length of wire and thus then start testing. Amazing as it may seem to you, surprising, it works. And to test the concept, you will only need the coaxial T fitting, a length of coaxial cable to go from the transmitter to the dummy load, and you want the transmitter to deliver to this rather unique antenna system the power. Now, this is not an April Fool's joke. Remember, we're in August, not in April. And all what has been described so far about this unique antenna system is absolutely field tested by yours truly under the most diverse circumstances you can imagine. The incentive behind using this dummy load plus wire unique radiation system is no other than experimenting, and at the same time this may be a useful approach if you want to avoid problems with your solid state rig's final output transistors while using a stealth antenna random length. During recent Hurricane Irma last year, I installed a dummy load plus wire antenna that consisted of a 50 ohm dummy load rated for 100 watts continuous service and 15 meters of number 10 copper wire, and of course the T coaxial connector. The length of the coaxial cable from the transceiver to the dummy load was exactly 10 meters, and the dummy load was located below the 500 gallons water tank on my reinforced concrete rooftop. The wire was extended from there and tied to one of my towers. The antenna worked very well on the 20 and 40 meters band where I needed it during the storm. As expected, the standing wave ratio reading was a perfect 1:1, and all stations to which I contacted were surprised to hear about the extremely rare type of antenna that I was using at that time. And now, amigos, as always, at the end of the show, here is your friend Arnie Koros, DXers Unlimited, high frequency plus low band VHF propagation update and forecast. Very, very poor propagation conditions, making a very slow comeback right now. And the good news is that I will expect to see the appearance of the yet to be fully explained by scientists trans-equatorial propagation openings that bring VHF and HF signals across the equator with amazing regularity every year and without any connection whatsoever with the solar cycle. Send your signal reports and comments to info.rhc@enet.cu. I'll say that again, info.rhc@enet.cu, and via airmail to Arnie Koros, Radio Havana Cuba, Havana, Cuba. And please remember that the propagation conditions are very poor, but signals can always be found somewhere along the shortwave bands.
And that's all for today. This is Arnie Koros, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host here at Radio Havana's DXers Unlimited, saying 73, and very good DX.
Thanks, Arnie. We now round out